It's really an inventory and mapping of the gardens to kind of give us basically a baseline of what we have here in the garden.
And to determine the differences between what was planned and what was actually planted.
It was all designed up front, and so we had designs to work from and everything. But when you go through a construction process, a lot of things happen, a lot of things change.
Which is why Springs Preserve horticulturist Pete Duncombe and his staff began by mapping the more permanent features.
The first thing we have to do is make sure that we have an accurate map to work with. And so we've had to go back and kind of get all of the pathways in and the sidewalks so that we know where the planting areas are located.
Using high-tech global positioning survey equipment, they can figure out exactly where on Earth each plant is.
It actually reads several satellites and gets very accurate within, centimeters of where it is in the world. It locates it. So it's very accurate, and it gives us the ability to have a very, very accurate drawing.
But they also rely on the human touch to illustrate what particular plant is where.
We have then a drawing, a sketch that identifies everything within a bed area. Then we take that and we actually scan it in and then bring it into our drawing. Then we can then drop the symbols right on top of those locations.
And the more background information that accompanies each plant symbol, the more value it adds to the gardens.
What really sort of distinguishes a botanic gardens is that they really are collections of plants that are documented, and so it's having the information associated with the plants in the gardens that really gives the collections any kind of value. And so if we know where the seed was collected and where, when it was propagated, over in our propagation facilities and germinated and when it was then brought over and transplanted into that location, and if we accession that plant, and it becomes part of our permanent collection, then that has a lot more information associated with it than a plant that we just have acquired from a nursery, put it in the ground here, we know that we have that plant, and that's about the end of the story, really.
But every prized plant in our Garden of Information will have quite a tale to tell interested visitors.
When people see something out in the gardens that they really want to know what it is, one of the things that we can do is hopefully then improve our labeling, get more labels on them. But if we still have things that aren't labeled, then we can still go back to the database and say, okay, and then identify what that is and help people find that plant that they're looking for.
And one day soon, when they've completed this many-layered and multi-dimensional view of these dazzling gardens, then they can begin their next project of changing the planted landscape again so that it's even more impressive.
Our purpose in mapping it also is to identify those areas where we need to replant or where we want to come back in with something else. What are our opportunities to plant something new and to try something new? As we develop out our collections plan, then we can utilize those spaces and come back in with things that we really want to collect and grow.